Okay, so now we've cast on our stitches. I switched needles because this makes it a little bit clearer. You have 10 stitches on your needle. What we're going to do is turn your needle. These are huge needles, so just bear with me. What you're going to do is trim your tail. You always want to trim your tail because it gets in the way and it's really frustrating. So your tail is the one that's not to the ball of yarn. It's this little short dinky piece. So you can cut that. I usually cut it to about 3 inches. And you can just get rid of that because it gets in the way and gets confusing. So what I'm going to show you is how to knit. Every time that you knit, whether you're knitting or whether you're purling, sorry, just a minute. You always want your stitches to face to the right hand side of your needle. So you have all of your nice little stitches on the needle on the left, and then these funky stitches. These are what you've already done, and those are on the right hand side of your needle. So knitting is the easier of the 2 stitches. What you're going to do, sorry, there. Okay. You're going to come into the front with your right hand needle. That one has no stitches on it. It's totally empty. It's called your working needle. You're going to go in the front, and what I usually do is just slip that first stitch off. So slipping is basically just taking that first stitch off of the left hand needle, putting it on the right needle, and just making it nice and sort of snug. You can just pull on your tails to make it snug. That one is, if you do that every single row, you will have a nice clean edge. So the way that you knit is you take your right needle and you go, see in between these 2 stitches? You go in between the stitches right on the needle. You go in between 2 stitches and you come up right in between the first stitch on that needle. See how you're in between? You can hear the needles clinking together. It means nothing's between them. So you come up behind the left needle. Your right needle comes up behind the left needle. And what I usually do is hold the 2 needles together so that they don't slip around with my left hand. And this working yarn that's coming from the ball of yarn that's on the floor, this thread you bring around and in between the 2 needles. So you come around the back and in between the 2 needles. You hold it nice and tight and grab your right needle with your right hand again. So it's in between this thread, this string right here that you brought around the back of your right hand needle. You're going to put that between the 2 needles. And this is called knitting. You bring this right here, this little stitch here, you're going to go underneath the middle of that one, just like that, underneath the front of it, and then you pull it right off of the left hand needle. And this looks kind of spacey because these are big needles and I'm trying to do it loose so that you can see it easier. But that's how you knit. So you go in between 2 stitches, you go in the back with your right hand needle, you bring the 2 needles together, you're in the back, see you're in the back of the left hand needle, you hold the 2 needles together with your thumb and your index finger, and this working yarn that's coming off of the right hand side of your right hand needle comes around the back, around the back of your right hand needle. So there's thread in between, there's yarn in between your 2 needles. Again, that's the yarn that you just fed around the back. And you take your right hand needle, go underneath that stitch that's on your left needle, and then you pull it right off. You pull it nice and tight. So you still have your thread, your working thread from your ball of yarn off to the right. So again, you go in between 2 stitches on your left hand needle with your right hand needle. You come in the back. They're coming together just like that. There's nothing between them. Now you want something between them now, so you hold your 2 needles with your left hand, bring your working yarn that's coming off of the right on your right hand needle, you bring it around the back of your right hand needle, and then you come in between the stitch on your left hand needle in front of the needle, and you scoop it right off of the left hand needle. So I'm going to go a little bit faster so you can see it, how it's supposed to look. Bring the 2 needles together. Your right needle is in the back of your left. Hold them together. Bring the yarn around your back needle and in between the 2 needles, just like that. It's in between. And you're going to pull the stitch off. So you go over with your left and pull it off with your right. In between the 2 stitches on your left, hold the 2 needles, bring the yarn around the back of the right, feed it off by going over with that stitch on your left needle and then gently bringing it off. So in between the stitches, hold it, bring the yarn around the back of the right, bring it over and bring it off. In between the stitches, needles clink, hold them, bring the yarn around the back and in between the 2 needles, bring it off of your right and off of your left. In between, bring it around the back, bring it over and off. We're almost done. In between the stitches, hold it, bring it around the back and in between the 2 needles, bring it over and off. This is the last stitch. Go in behind with your right, around the back with your thread, with your yarn, bring it over your right needle and off. There. Well done. And this is the tricky part. We're going to kind of segue into purling. What you do is you just turn your thread. You just turn your needle. You don't flip it or anything, and it looks kind of funny, but that's how you want it to look. Your needle, see this right here? You want your needle to be on the left hand side and your stitches are on the right. It's loose, but it's good. Alright, now we're going to do purling, and that's on another one.